Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive in different aspects of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are going through the filmography of one John Carpenter. And this week we are completing his 1980s run, completing one of the greatest cinematic achievements in film history with
Prince of Darkness?
Yes, Prince of Darkness, because we've done literally every other movie in his 1980s run. Because we've already done The Thing, we've done Christine, Starman, They Live, Big Trouble, The Fog. Am I missing any? I know we talked about them all at this point. Yeah, but we're talking about Prince of Darkness, the often forgotten John Carpenter film.
It was something.
I know I said like his 80s run is like kind of totemically just great. It's like 8 films that are all like solid gold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Prince of Darkness though.
It scared me.
You found it scary?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into like possession and like there's a reason why I don't watch The Exorcist.
So, Jesus things scare you?
Yeah. Once it gets religious and it's like, ooh. Like, even in a church, you're not safe. Then I'm spooked.
If they busted out the Ouija board, would you have turned the movie off? This would have gone in the graveyard?
No. I've seen plenty of movies and shows where they use the Ouija board. Will I have one in my house? No. Will I watch it on TV? Sure. Let other people bring that juju into their home. But it's like, I'm not bringing that bad juju into my home. And then I was like, oh, man, we are in a church. And this dream sequence is probably going to haunt me for a while.
The dream sequence is a very weird part of the movie because it looks wrong.
I think that was the scariest for me.
That's really interesting because that is the part of the movie that feels the most like strange to me.
And found footage.
It has that found footagey quality because you shot it on video and then recorded it off of a TV screen to make it look just like layers of difference.
Yeah.
But also just like the look of it. You're going across this churchyard. There's this dark figure coming out of this smoky background from the church doors. And it just looks uncomfortable.
It's unsettling.
Unsettling is a good word for it. But the rest of the movie itself is also weird. I don't know if I would call the movie as a whole unsettling. I would call it interesting. The movie's very interesting in what it's trying to do. That whole argument of like, at a certain level, science is just mysticism, and we can explain the most mystical thing of like God and Satan or whatever with this like science. I think that's what the movie's trying to do, right? Where it's like at a certain level, science is just mysticism.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I got.
And it kind of then devolves into a little bit of a zombie movie near the end.
Yeah. Zombies, you have bugs.
Lots of bugs.
You have people squirting liquid into other people's mouths.
I know that was your favorite part. Because I know you were just such not a germaphobe.
No,
You're
not
just
at
like
all.
Whatever about it.
I was like, that's probably one of the most horrific things I saw in the movie. It was just, we're just spreading germs around. I'm like, no.
That the stabbings, no. The bugs, whatever. The demonic presence, that's fine. The germs, though.
I would have.
Where you draw the line.
I would have jumped out a window and dealt with the tweaker zombies.
The tweaker zombies led
by Alice Cooper. Yeah.
That is also weird. Is Alice Cooper is in this movie?
Yeah, I read that when I was doing my notes for it. I'm like, Alice Cooper, and I'm like, oh, there he is. Don't quite get it, but okay.
Well, I guess Alice Cooper's in the movie because John Carpenter met him at WrestleMania 3, which is, God, I love the 1980s. Yeah, I met Alice Cooper at WrestleMania. He's in my movie now. It's fine. But I guess he meets him and was like, hey, I like your stage show where you impale people with a bike. Can I use that prop? And Alice Cooper's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I guess his manager or whatever also was a producer or whatever, or knew the producers for this. And Alice Cooper's like, can I just like be in the movie? And John Carpenter's like, yeah, sure, fuck it. So that's how he got cast in the movie, is they just kind of met by happenstance. And they were like, yeah, cool. Yeah, be in the movie. We can use your props and it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because he has like no lines.
Yeah.
He is literally, as you said, the leader of the Tweaker Zombies. And that's another thing about the movie. There's just kind of these weird things going on. Like, I find it fascinating that Carpenter is like, okay, we need these two dynamic leads to do this whole philosophy jargon and science jargon. Let's get Donald Pleasance and Victor Wong as our like two-hander here. And I'm like, okay, great actors.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of surprised you're like, you know what? Leading men, names above the fucking title, is Donald Pleasance and Victor Wong as our leading men here.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both like very old. They're not doing a lot of the action, and it feels like that's why Carpenter is like, these two are gonna do all the talking, and then we're just gonna cast the backups for Friday the 13th as our like
fodder
here. Again, it's like a thing where the movie is throwing a lot of stuff into the mixing bowl and just trying to see what makes out of it. Because there's, shadows of The Thing on here, Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, Big Trouble. Like, all those little aspects of his previous films are just in this mixing bowl.
Yeah.
And I guess it comes down, do you like the film? Because we're going to get into, like, the plot and everything in a second, but, like, just broadly, do you like the movie?
I like it. I mean, I didn't dislike it. I'd probably have to give it another watch to kind of understand it a little bit better, even though it's a possession movie.
It feels like there's more there, right?
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like I maybe missed something in the beginning, but it's not like your typical possession movie. People aren't levitating. You don't have, like, crosses flipping over like in other movies. It's just like it's weird things where it was really reminding me of The Evil Dead, the first one,
where it's a possession movie but religion seems totally just removed from it.
Yeah, and I think that's what was confusing me, because I was like, oh, okay, well, you're in that church setting, why not use that to your advantage? But it was more like Evil Dead, where it's, okay, we're going to kill people off, and then we're going to reanimate them, and we're going to freak you out with she keeps typing, or the guy keeps laughing. Little idiosyncrasies that kind of unnerve you a little bit.
That cue you there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. It's also the thing where Carpenter seems to go out of his way to say that this is not Satan or the devil or Lucifer. He's saying this isn't the devil. It's just an anti-god. Like, there's
like the devil,
right? But he wants to almost quantify it in like a scientific term, where it's like, oh, if God is like the matter of like creation, then this is the antimatter of creation, the other side, the anti-life, I guess. Again, the plot of this movie is like a little dense in a kind of weird way that usually his films aren't. Like most Carpenter movies are pretty like, strong premise and pretty straightforward. I would say, right? None of them are overly complicated.
No, and that's why this one was a little confusing. But I mean, I was still able to kind of, put things together, and okay, we're going to have a strong female lead, sacrifice herself to save everybody, but still fucked.
It was like, but strong female lead. Get them for the sisters right there.
Yeah, and then, who knows what happens to her?
I believe she is in the anti-realm. That is hell? I don't really know.
Hell underwater?
Hell and Mercury? Okay, it's okay. Let's just get into, like, I guess, a little bit of the making of this movie, because, the other world is pretty obviously, like, just shooting in a pool.
A water tank.
Like, you can tell the entire space of this film's production was, like, two sets. It was, like, the college and, like, the church, and I think the church is, like, just a warehouse somewhere. And the whole thing, like the movie, you can tell is pretty low budget.
Mm-hmm.
John Carpenter was coming off of the, God, I feel like I've been repeating this same thing. He was coming off the financial failure of his previous film. Last time when we did Christine,
yeah.
It was The Thing. This one, it's Big Trouble in Little China. Does Big Trouble for Universal.
Mm-hmm.
It bombs like crazy, which, fuck, god damn it. Why couldn't we get like 15 Big Trouble movies? But Big Trouble bombs. Carpenter's back on the outs with Hollywood, the studio system, and he's like, for God's sakes, every time I make a big studio movie with all of my ideas, I get fucked, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Thing bombs, Big Trouble bombs. So he's like, I'm going back to the indies. I'm going to do like indie films. And he finds this studio, Alive Pictures, that kind of comes up because they have a deal with, I believe, Universal or Fox,
Mm-hmm.
where they bought all the video rights to all of their back catalog before the studios understood what video rights really were. So they bought like MASH and Jaws and fucking all the Universal movies, whatever, and released them and made a bajillion fucking dollars.
Yeah.
But they were like, well, we need stuff that's our own, so we get all the rights to it, and we have all the video rights to it anyway. So they talked this game with John Carpenter. He could give them a basically 2-line pitch, and they would give him $3 million and full creative control. And he could just make whatever the fuck he wanted. And this was the first movie out of that deal. The second one was They Live.
Mm-hmm. Great movie.
Fantastic movie. But, like, that's a pretty sweet fucking deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you give us a good pitch. If we like it, we'll give you $3 million, creative control. Just turn us something in like 6 months.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking good. And I think that's kind of why the movie is the way it is. Like, you can tell, like, oh, we have the great evil in the tank underneath the church in Los Angeles, and the great evil is goo kind of spinning in a tube
In an aquarium.
And I'm like, okay, so that could not have been like, we're just gonna have this green spinning goo and that's gonna be the great evil. That had to have been like, Carpenter, writing it is like, look, we're not gonna have a lot of money. I'm just gonna like make something up that I know is gonna be cheap to shoot. And that's the same thing with like The Other World is just a water tank, and the zombies don't look like, or the possessed people don't look like zombies are possessed. They're just them, just a little wet now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a very like interesting conceit. A lot of this movie feels like a lot of big ideas with a lot of concessions to budget
Mm-hmm.
that I think Carpenter is used to at this point. I feel like that's like a lot of Escape from New York was big idea, concessions to budget.
Mm-hmm.
That was Halloween. That was Assault on Precinct 13. He's gotten really good at this.
Yeah.
But the movie we get from it is Prince of Darkness, where this priest, played by Donald Pleasence, kind of inherits a diary and a key from a previous cardinal who
Mm-hmm.
passed away, and finds that it unlocks the basement of this abandoned church in downtown LA.
That's what it looked like to me.
I know it's in Los Angeles, and he finds underneath there is this book that's written in like 15 different dead languages, and this giant green spinning goo in a giant clear washing machine. And he's like, I know exactly who I need to unravel this mystery. A bunch of science students from USC.
It's like, no, you see if you could maybe ship that to the Vatican. Don't they have like, facilities where they could take care of like evil things?
A place for top men.
Something, they have Annabelle in that museum locked up.
I love the whole Annabelle thing because people are like, yeah, it's this evil doll. It's locked up in like this evil museum. And I'm like, it's the fucking Warrens' basement. It's not like the Vatican. It's in their basement in like a doll cabinet, guys. Like,
yeah, and it's Raggedy Ann doll.
Was that something that kind of took the wind out of your sails? Because it took the wind out of mine when I found out it was a Raggedy Ann doll.
A little bit. I mean, I never really got into like the whole Annabelle thing. Chucky did a number on me when I was a kid. And I was like, I'm just gonna not sell myself into these doll movies because either they're going to look ridiculous or they're going to scare the crap out of me. And I don't need that in my life. And then I saw Raggedy Ann and I'm like, I don't know how afraid I would be if Raggedy Ann started acting up. But at the same time, in the dark, yeah, I'd be a little spooked if my Raggedy Ann was moving around.
I love the whole thing where it's like, Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll. Oh, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. And then I see the movie like Poltergeist with the giant clown doll.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that wasn't a possessed doll thing. Or, I don't know. Just possessed dolls are either that, where it's like they look like Raggedy Ann, they're fucking ridiculous, or they're the clown doll from Poltergeist that are like legitimately horrifying to look at. Why would you buy that for your child?
Well, Poltergeist is different because it was the spirits in the house. So the spirits are animating the puppet, or not the puppet, the clown doll.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not a possessed doll, it's just the spirits working through the doll. But what did hurt me was we went to Blast from the Past in Burbank last month.
Yeah, I think so.
They had the clown doll from Poltergeist on a chair. And I was like, oh, that's the doll from Poltergeist. And some guy walks up and goes, oh, dude, hey, that's the doll from Scary Movie, whatever. And I was just like,
oh my God.
I was like, I had to control myself. Like, are you fucking kidding? That is the doll from Poltergeist and featured in Scary Movie, whatever.
It's Scary Movie 2. Please, respect the one of the great films. All right, Poltergeist is okay, but Scary Movie 2. God, that is like kind of funny because you got to think about it. The Scary Movie films at one point were probably a lot of people's into certain horror movie tropes or like images, right? Because like I know for a fact I saw Scary Movie before I saw what was it? I Know What You Did Last Summer. So
yeah.
Yeah, right. But like I saw that and it's like when the Scary Movie girl's spinning around saying, "What are you doing? Come at me. What are you doing? Where are you?" And I was like, "Why is she doing that? That's not in Scream.
Nope.
That's fucking ridiculous looking. What is this a reference to?" And then you find out it's from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
But that was almost the fun part of watching those Scary Movie films is you would watch them and then you would be like, okay, so I know the overarching plot to like Scary Movie 2 is the haunting, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, I don't know what that doll thing is from, but I'm going to lock that in my head because I'm going to start watching a bunch of horror movie stuff to try and figure out where it's from. I found out it was from Poltergeist, a decade later. Because I didn't watch Poltergeist as a kid. I watched that in like high school.
No, I watched Poltergeist as a kid. Yeah, that was not a movie I should have watched at the age that I watched it. And my dad double featured it, so we watched Poltergeist 1 and 2 in a night.
Oh, Poltergeist 2 is fucking awful. And I don't mean awful like bad movie. It's that old fucking guy.
Yes.
God is in his holy temple. That freaks me the fuck out.
I didn't sleep that night. I haven't seen either of those movies since. I stay away from them like
like the plague.
Like the plague, like the green goo. Yeah, I stay away from them. But yeah, I was really pissed off at that guy. I was like, you fuck. This is from Poltergeist. Not Scary Movie, too. Even though it's featured in it. But no. Know your horror history, damn it.
Actually, that even kind of rounds us back to a thing we talked about, like in the Fog episode, right? The parallels of Spielberg and Carpenter.
Carpenter, yeah.
Because what is it? Poltergeist was like it's directed by Tobe Hooper, but it's produced by Steven Spielberg, right? And depending on who you talk to and whatever, Spielberg ghost directed it, or there were certain sections Spielberg did because Hooper was like, I don't know how to do these fucking VFX effects or whatever you do it, Steve. But the ideas of Poltergeist in some of the like broad ideas of Prince of Darkness kind of have a little bit of overlap, right? Oh, the Poltergeist, we built these houses on top of this ancient burial ground and all the ghosts are coming up. And in Prince of Darkness, we have this church built atop this ancient catacomb that has like the fucking devil in it. And that's another kind of interesting thing, even though I feel like a lot more of Prince of Darkness is Carpenter kind of referencing back to himself, it's still hard for me to completely rip apart the idea that Spielberg and Carpenter were drawing from the same well for a lot of ideas.
They could have been brothers.
I mean, okay, we have Carpenter and Spielberg coming together to make something. I don't know. I just think that'd be interesting.
Starman.
God, I feel like they both would have been like, yeah, we would have made the same movie given that script. I don't know.
I would have cried in both movies.
We should watch Starman again.
It was really good.
Okay, but
Broke my heart.
But Prince of Darkness, a movie that did not break your heart.
Did not break my heart, but it did make me think, man, I'm probably not going to sleep well tonight. And luckily, I was very tired and I did sleep.
Good for you.
I thought, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be up all night and every little noise, it's some zombie tweaker in my house, because apparently they just roam around a lot. Or the weird girl in the denim jacket that's just, basically one of the spitters from Jurassic Park.
But yes, that is, I mean, you're getting to a lot of the things about this movie that is horrifying, is people spitting at each other. But Prince of Darkness, so the priest gathers up these like physics students, this professor, whatever, a bunch of people from the college, and takes them into the church to do this study, and I'm not 100% sure what the study is for. Is it to discern what the fuck this is? Is it to figure out, like, is it sentient? Is it alive? Is it to just figure out how old it is?
Does the demon know how to code?
Does it know how to Apparently it does. Differential equations.
Yeah. I mean, that does kind of sound spooky, equations.
Boo's not a fan of math?
No, I'm just not good at it.
I see. Well, you know what you are good at is staying away from spooky fucking churches.
And now I'm going to fear getting bruises.
Oh, that's true. Because they set up the whole like basement structure, right? To like do the experiment, whatever. And we're already seeing like Alice Cooper and his droogs are hanging out outside.
Yeah, as you do.
And they're like surrounding the church, and you could tell kind of right away where this is going. It's going to be a little bit of a siege movie. We're going to have like a zombie siege style thing with these possessed homeless people that are going to come down on the church. Cool. Like I keyed into that pretty quick. And we have inside is the girl, I believe her name is Kelly. Smacks her arm on one of the on some of the equipment, just like backs up into it, and that was enough for Satan to be like, mark the bitch.
Yep.
All right, she's bruised. Let's put the symbol of Satan upon her body and mark her for the Antichrist. And you think I am exaggerating? No, that is literally what happens. She bumps her arm. And then throughout the movie, the bruise gets a little worse, and then a symbol appears on the bruise, and it's like, I think you're marked as the Antichrist. And she's like, what did I do? I bumped into some equipment because you guys couldn't fucking space it out. What the hell is this? It's awful.
Yes. So now we got to fear getting bruises.
We got to fear getting bruises. We got to fear a lot of things. But they are now going to start studying, and as they do their business, we get a lot of introductions to the characters. I think there's about 8 people in total inside the church, and already one of them gets like possessed by the green goo, by Satan, by spray.
God, it's so bad.
People are going to listen to this and be like, every time Dean talks about the spray, Becky gets all like, ooh, creeped out and shivery.
I mean, yeah. I mean, she's just there, and then, it just kind of...
She's like, what the fuck is that? And then money shots her in the eye.
It does, and it's just like, ew. Ew? Ugh.
Ew.
Yeah, ew.
But she gets money shotted, and
yeah,
then...
she does.
And then another guy gets like just murked in the fucking alley by Alice Cooper and a fucking bike
and the
spear.
bike. And you'd think, let me run up the stairs while I still have the chance.
Well, as soon as he turns, because
he takes a little too long to turn.
Well, he's walking down the stairs. He's like, what the fuck's this at the bottom of the stairs? Oh, it's a bird that's been crucified.
Yeah,
oh, that's strange.
When you see that, it's like, that is you turn around and you go back into the church.
Well, he was about to like run down the alley, and then Alice Cooper's there with the bike. He's like, "Oh, I guess I'm not doing that." Turns around, and there's like 40, zombies behind him.
He took too long. He stared at Alice Cooper for way too long.
You wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, that's Alice Cooper." That would have been so funny.
Not when you see the crucified pigeon. That's when you're like, I'm out of here.
That would have been so funny if he turned and is like, "Holy shit, is that Alice Cooper? What the fuck?" And then Alice Cooper stabs him. But again, it's a thing because the movie only does not spend a lot of time, or the movie does not waste a lot of time.
No.
That's a better way to put it.
No, it's not a slow burn. It's kind of, we're at the college. You guys aren't getting the weekend off. You're going to go do this at this church. Let's go.
Yeah. And we're in the church in 20 minutes, I think, from the opening.
I think so.
Because, I mean, the opening credits of this movie that we're interspersing with like the scenes building up is like a long time, and we get introduced to everybody, we get some dynamics, a little bit of a romance, and we're at the church. And we're at the church for maybe another 15 20 minutes before people start getting murdered. Because I think she gets possessed around the halfway point, or I think people figure out people are dying around the halfway point.
Well, people are disappearing. And it's like, oh, everyone's going home, I guess. And it's like, no. If only it were that simple. People were just going home.
Yeah. Well, because that's even a good thing to think about is like the dynamic that people usually watch horror movies, right? Where it's like a Friday the 13th or like a Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or whatever. Oh, everyone's hanging out at this house party or whatever. And the thing that already like comes up in my brain is, how is it that no one's realized their friend has been gone for like an hour? Oh yeah, we're at this house party, or we're at the camp or whatever, and everyone's going off fooling around, and it's like, yo, like, have you guys realized I don't think I've heard or seen Ken and Barbie in like fucking 4 hours. Where are they? Oh, dude, they're probably just out fooling around for 4 fucking hours. Ken's the marathon man. What are you talking about?
He plays the long game.
I'm just like half memeing here, but it's a thing that like crosses my mind of like, I know for you, right? You put your mind into a lot of horror movie characters, right?
Yeah, I follow the tropes.
Right. But in your mind, you're always like, okay, at what point could they have turned around and everything would have been fine? Right? Like at what, like for this movie, it's like they would have been more or less fine until like the sun went down on the first day. If they left like at 7 p.m. when the sun was still out, they would have been fine, right?
I think so. I mean, because they show the tweaker zombies throughout the day. They show them,
I'm so not stealing a cold one out of the bag we bring into these.
Yeah, you mean a cold Arizona?
I like them. People know.
Yeah, but you're over here, yeah, people think I'm drinking. I'm cool. I'm like, no, he's drinking an Arnold Palmer. Very cool.
I wish people thought I was an alcoholic, and then they think I was interesting. All right. But
you are interesting.
I digress.
No, I think, let's see. Because it's the girl in the denim jacket, the one that gets possessed first. I keep forgetting what her name is.
Is she Kelly?
And then, no, I don't think she's Kelly.
Susan? We'll go with Susan because she's the redhead, I think. That's another thing. There's a lot of characters in here that have rather, not generic, but like rather like normal names, like Walter, Susan, Kelly.
Well, it's also
Mark or whatever.
It's one of these casts where it's not like, oh, that's Robert De Niro, that's Demi Moore, that's this. It's like it's a lot of
actors where you recognize them, but they're like character actors.
They're character actors, but I mean, you have some.
I recognize Dennis Dunn.
Oh yeah,
from Big Trouble.
Yeah.
But it's
and,
like
Donald Pleasance, Jameson Parker, but it's like you have other characters that are, like you said, character actors, people you don't know. It's kind of like Christine, where it kind of made the movie scarier because you're not, oh, this is a big name actor. This is like, no, this is the character.
That's the other thing is you don't have the weight of like the star power
Yeah.
behind it, where it's like, well, that's fucking Brad Pitt. He's not gonna
Mhm.
die. What
Yeah.
are you talking about?
That's why it's like everybody in this cast is vulnerable,
Yeah.
except for Donald Pleasance. It's like, are they really going to take him out?
Okay.
I
Donald
feared
Ple-
for him.
We're gonna get into the Donald Pleasance of it all in a minute, but yeah. But that's the thing. The like you watch horror movies and you're like, okay, at what point could we have gotten out and been totally fine? I watch horror movies in the sense of, if I was this character in this moment, what would cue me that something's wrong, right?
Mhm.
And in Carpenter movies, a lot of the times you can go kind of far before you start keying in of like something's gone wrong. Like The Thing, you can watch a lot of that movie and
Mhm.
be like, no, nothing's like, I would have been like pretty much in the same boat with these guys kind of all the way on this one, or like a Halloween, right? Well, yeah, I'm babysitting at somebody else's house. Oh, there's somebody like, oh, across the street, but it's also fucking Halloween. There's people just in the street anyway. For this one, it's like the girl, right? I'm just going to call her Kelly. I can't remember the character's name. If Kelly disappears in this big ass fucking church, and then Glasses guy leaves because he's supposed to leave to cover like somebody's shift,
Mhm.
and everyone's like, where the fuck did Kelly go? Well, fucking Glasses guy, well, he left, so that's like whatever. But I feel like I would have been concerned that I hadn't seen Kelly in like a few hours.
Where
I guess
would've-
Walter sees her and then the other guy's looking for her, but like even then it's like, oh, where's Kelly? Oh, she's at the end of the hall, standing like really creepily next to that dark corner. She didn't say anything to me, but she was kind of staring at me without her glasses on. It was kind of weird. Yeah, just go down there and go look for
That's
her.
what
Yeah,
I'm
buddy.
pretty sure that's Susan, because everyone's
Is
like,
that
"Who?"
Susan?
They're like, who? And they're like, the radiologist. So it's like, I'm pretty sure that's Susan.
You're right, that is Susan.
But to go back to when I would have left. So at the very beginning, when Donald Pleasance gets to the church and
Yeah.
the woman shakes his hand and he looks into the cup that she's holding, and you have I think it's the maggots.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that would have been we're out of here, because that's associated with a possession, and it's like, okay, that's
And not just, oh, that's just a homeless woman
no. I'm like, she's got a cup full of maggots.
who fears the homeless.
No. But it's like, cup full of maggots. Yeah, you got something not going on well. But then Susan, she also makes the observation fairly early where she's like, I'm watching all the homeless people, the tweakers, and they're supposed to be schizophrenic, but they're not doing schizophrenic patterns where they're repeating the same things. They're just standing around and observing.
I think that's the thing. She assumes they're all like schizophrenic, or she assumes they're all like mentally ill. But that's the thing. They are acting weird because they're just standing and staring. Now,
and they keep accumulating. It's it's a couple first, and then it's just a crowd, and it's like, that's when I'd be like, no, this is a little weird. We're in this abandoned church. There's not too much that's going around in the area around us.
I mean,
I'm gone.
their first thought probably would have been like, oh shit, were they like living in here?
Mm-hmm.
Did we basically just move into their like makeshift homeless shelter?
Yeah, and then you have to worry about, are there other rooms in this building that we don't know about? There might be more people in here that can put us in danger.
It is also an interesting thing is none of them call the cops at any point in the film. Granted, they're in an abandoned building, and this movie comes out in 1987, so there's no cell phones or anything. But it's interesting that, oh God, I miss fucking pre-cell phone horror films where we can actually have this kind of a plot.
Where you can't call for help.
Where you can't just call the cops or whatever. So many horror films pre 2004, I guess. 2004 is probably the last time you could have like reasonably said like, oh, they just don't have cell phones. But any horror movie pre like at least 2000 was like contingent on the fact you could not just get on the fucking cell phone and call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it. What we lost with the rise of technology. But
that's why Eggers won't do it.
I like that mindset. Everything's a period piece. why are you making this horror movie in like just 1994? It's just before cell phones, so we can kind of get away with it. But again, I digress. So they are hanging out in the no. Yeah. The girl is now possessed. Glasses guy is dead, and they have kind of gotten to the point where they're starting to pick up something's wrong, but they don't necessarily know a murder's on the loose. This is where we lean into the whole Halloween aspect of the movie, right? Because the girl is stalking all these people and either killing them or possessing them. And sometimes both.
Yeah.
And they manage to possess, I would say, half of them, like 3 or 4 people before anyone clues in on it. And as they're doing it, they're also, the people who aren't being possessed are uncovering that this green ooze isn't something that is like supernatural. It is just extraordinary. It's something that kind of comes from, this is where the movie starts kind of losing me. It's either from another planet or another dimension, and it is like the antithesis of what these people would scientifically call God, I guess. It's like a thing where it's like the Victor Wong and his like associates are like, this guy or this thing is the physical manifestation of what the church would have called the devil, right? And Donald Pleasance is kind of weighing the fact of like, wait, it's a physical manifestation? Is it like actual God or Satan or whatever? Does this prove my theological belief in Christ and the Lord above? And they're like, no, it's something else. We don't really know what it is, but it's not mystical, it's physical. And it's a thing where I don't know if we're supposed to be like, oh my God, God's not real, it's just an alien? Like, is it Xenu? Is this Carpenter taking shots at Scientology? Or is it like that's the thing. I can't really wrap my mind around what the movie's trying to get at of like, is God just science we don't understand? Or is this science that we don't understand still just science? There's no mysticism. It's just more gobbledygook equations.
Or is evil goo just evil goo?
Or are the curtains just blue? Like, is it just a conceit for us to have spooky shit happen?
Yeah.
Going with that one?
Yeah. Why not?
Yes. God, I love you so much because I will go deep down the rabbit hole of, but where does God fit into the mastermind of this all? And you're like, Dean, the curtains are just fucking blue. All right, just it's fine. It's fine. Enjoy the ride.
It shouldn't have taken 5 people hours to break open that wall to get Walter out from the closet.
I have gripes with that too, by the way.
It's like, be realistic. We want to talk about equations and, the myth of God and the devil. And it's just like, you guys can't, amongst you adults, you can't break open a wall enough to get Walter out from the other side. You guys are scientists. You can't use science to break through that wall faster and more efficient.
They are not men of actions. But actually, let's explain that, right? Because that actually comes up like, kind of right after this. So the zombie people outside have basically surrounded it. Like all the homeless possessed people have surrounded the place, and they're not sieging it. They're just not letting anyone get away. About 4 or 5 people have been possessed or killed, and now they are on the loose inside.
I do like the touch that John Carpenter had where he has them not only, protecting the outside of the building, they've used everything that they've accumulated from the streets, like, stuff you would see in shopping carts, to barricade the doors so people can't physically leave the building.
I love that too, because it's something that's so, like, we don't see them building it. It's just there.
It's there. It's quiet. And it's like, you guys seriously didn't hear them hauling furniture, hauling whatever they could to barricade the doors.
I do love that where I'm like, okay, that's like a full oak fucking desk. Was that like 3 guys being like, okay, like easy, subtle, okay, okay, and just tilt it up against the wall. We don't want to make any loud noises. look, I can't be quiet moving a fucking couch, like making a corner turn in a hallway with a couch. I can't imagine these guys, even possessed, would have been like, look, you gotta twist it just a little bit around the corner. Like, it's again, I love it because it is spooky.
Yeah.
But yeah, they barricade the zombie people, barricade the outside. There's, the 4 or 5 possessed scientists inside that are trying to steal or kill everybody, and then there's the blonde girl who, that person is Kelly.
I think she's the one with the bruise.
Yes.
Maybe she's Kelly. It's hard to tell from these pictures.
I'm every woman in this movie is named Kelly. Every guy in this movie is named Mark. But the blonde girl.
Yeah, the one with the bruise.
The one with the bruise. The bruise develops, and it's like the mark of something or whatever. And then she goes to sleep, and in her sleep, the ooze canister appears.
Yes.
Like a thief in the night, and sprays her all over with the ooze, and she is now the
like the incubator.
The incubator for the Antichrist, basically. And with that, she I love the effect. Her face her skin starts to decay, and she turns into this like weird fleshy like thing, and her voice changes, and she looks like a fucking like gooey monster, right? And she is now like laying in the bed, and she's like absorbing all of the ooze to
she's
really
cooking.
embody. She's cooking. And Walter, Dennis Dunn's character, is like runs in, sees this as the other zombie people are chasing him, and he locks himself in the closet as the other scientists are locked on just like the lab room on the other side. And he is now the eyes on blonde girl as she's turning into the Virgin Mary of the Antichrist, as the other people are now trying to like barricade the science room and observe the homeless like zombie wave that is now accumulating outside. And they spend like the whole day in there. It's like just this long drawn out like calm before the storm as they are all trying to figure out a way how to get the fuck out of here.
And it's just like, you guys can't dig through that wall any faster. You've been in here all day.
Yes. Because that's the thing. Walter cannot get out through the door, so they have to dig him out of the closet through like busting the wall
He's
down.
in a weird closet where it kind of reminds me of a confessional, where it has like the little window, so he's able to see out and see what's happening. He's got Susan, the radiologist, and the girl that was doing the creepy typing. He's got the two of them that are basically standing guard over Kelly, who is transforming into whatever this goo wants to be. So it's like, yeah, I don't think I'd be leaving the closet either. And then it shows once, she's more or less done transforming, she's able to move shit across the room. She's able to send things flying. It's like, yeah, I'm not going out there. Granted, she could rip that closet door off and, go right after me. But hey, my friend or my classmates that have been on the other side of this wall for 5 hours, not even a dent, nothing.
I mean, they're trying. They're just not making a lot of headway.
They're just kind of like, let me just dig at the wall slowly. Oh, there's bricks. All right, let me break out a few bricks. And then once she's fully finished cooking, Kelly, and gets up and she cracks that, that closet door and sends the other 2 drones to go get him, he picks something up and he's bashing through the wall. And it's like, well, shit, if you guys moved like that, 5 hours ago, you guys could have, bashed your way into another room and worked your way out.
I just love how Walter, Dennis Dunn's character, is just chilling at the side, be like, I'm not gonna dig myself out. They got that shop. I'm vibing. I'm chilling, baby.
I'm not gonna help.
Yeah, fuck that. And that's and then the other thing is, that's all the physics students. Donald Pleasance, the priest, is in a completely other space, hiding.
It looks like a boiler room.
It looks like a boiler room, but it also has this 7-foot tall mirror against the wall.
Yeah.
A little weird, but he's there, like, chilling, reading his Bible, like, being scared as shit, because Donald Pleasance is like, well, I guess me holding a Bible and looking a certain way will instill an amount of fear and sympathy in the audience that no other actor could possibly do.
Well, he also gets the biggest zombie in his room. The guy that looks like he's
should have been playing for the fucking Raiders instead of doing microbiology.
Oh no, I was thinking he was a nod to the character in Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, God, the character played by, is it Dwayne Jones?
I believe so. That's what I was looking. I'm like, are you supposed to be like a nod to him because we kind of have like zombies in this movie?
He's also in the same like costume.
That's why I was like, I wonder if that's like an Easter egg to Night of the Living Dead. But it's like, yeah, he's trapped in that room with him, and he's not, a drone like the other two where it's like, maybe I could sneak out of here and you won't grab me. He's, infatuated with the mirror. He's laughing. He's crying. It's like, if he sees me, he's probably going to tear me apart.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I would be in that little corner too. And I'm like, I am not moving.
Boo's there holding her Bible.
I guess I live here now. This is my little corner to don't sleep, nothing. Don't close your eyes.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But actually, that's the thing. Like, this part of the movie is like a lot of like the calm before the storm, or observing like the possessed people and how there's strange goings on, and how like just unsettling it is to see them kind of just operate in this very drone fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kelly wakes up, and Walter manages to make it through the wall, and all hell breaks loose, and Walter makes it through the wall, and they manage to toss out two of the zombie girls just out the window, just yeet them.
Yeah, it's like, that's what we should have done from the beginning. They won't let us out. Well, we'll throw them outside.
And the blonde girl goes into the boiler room with the priest, and she sees the mirror. And I guess the logic of the movie is through the mirror they're able to enter the other place. What that other place is, if that's hell or just a far off dimension or whatever that is, they're able to enter it.
Yeah, because we see her do that with the compact when she's in the room that she had been transforming in. And it's like she gets a couple of fingers through the compact mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like it's not enough. And then she ends up breaking the mirror. And that's when she goes to that room with the 7-foot tall mirror. And it's like, here's my answer. And it's like, no. No mirror.
No mirror.
No
mirror. No mirror. No mirror. But she like reaches in, and I know we kind of like talked a little bit of shit about it earlier.
And then Nosferatu reaches back.
Yes, exactly. We talked a little bit of a smack about it earlier. Oh, it's a cheap effect. It's just a pool effect or whatever. It does have a very haunting quality to it when she's reaching her hand in that light, and then this just dark, strange looking like shadow hand starts emerging from the other side of the screen, and it looks creepy.
I mean, we weren't talking crap about the effect. It's just we were able to,
not talking crap, but it was just like, it's a little bit of a cheap looking effect.
It's like we were able to dissect that it's probably a tank. You black out the tank except for the window, which would be the mirror.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like we're able to figure out what the effect is. I think it's more unsettling. What is it? What is that other side, that other, beyond the mirror? What is that?
Well, you see it when the blonde girl starts pulling it out. It is Tim Curry from Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Donald Pleasance, goes full Evil Dead, and I'm going to be chopping arms off and heads off. And she's just like, okay, let me just regrow that. Let me reattach that.
That is another thing. That's another layer where it's like he's chopping off arms and heads, and she's like, nah, that ain't going to work. Nah, I'm the Antichrist. It's fine. And then she like pins him against the wall.
With the safe. And
then it takes the redhead, who again is that Kelly.
I think that's Catherine. I think Kelly is the one that is possessed, the blonde one.
Okay.
Susan, the radiologist, and then Catherine is the one that sacrifices herself accidentally.
Catherine, our heroine,
yes,
comes in and she tackles Kelly into the other world, and then
because she has that conflicting, scene in the hallway where it's Brian Marsh, played by Jameson Parker, is being pinned down by the big dude. I can't think of what his name is.
He was the microbiologist.
Yeah, because I don't even have his picture on here, so I was like, I have no idea. So he is being pinned down, and she's like, well, do I save him, or do I stop
Satan from coming through?
From coming through the mirror. And then she makes that hard decision to just push Kelly through the mirror. And it's like, I don't know if she intended to tackle her going with her, or it was just couldn't, unwrap her arms from doing it.
My girl Catherine plans for keeps. She's like, no, you take it, you take them low, you drive through. She probably was, NCAA Division I wrestling champ. She knew, you gotta run the pipe if you're gonna get her out. So she meant to do that.
And then she, tackles her through the mirror, and Donald Pleasant's like, genius, let me use the axe and break the mirror.
He smashes the mirror, obviously condemning Catherine to a fate worse than death.
And then Brian's just like, no.
But it does end the night of horrors, where all the people inside, all the demonically possessed students are just like, we all die.
Yeah, you have the smoke that's, rising from the evil is being released from their bodies.
And all the homeless zombie tweakers outside are just like, oh, well, all right. And you see them walk away. They don't all like fall and die in possession. They're just like, oh, well, deuces, guys.
It's not even like, like they're shaking their heads kind of like,
oh, what was that?
Yeah, like I'm coming out of a trance or I'm just waking up. It's just like, all right, we're going to walk away in our separate, separate locations. We're going to walk off. And then Donald Pleasance is just like, we did it. We won. And it's just like, Brian's like, but my girl, I just got her and now she's gone.
I mean, I know the only interactions we've had up to this point is some pleasant conversation on a park bench and us fucking, but like, she was nice.
She was
cool. But yeah, so that gets us to like the end of the movie, and we have the
Walter's the one that is able to leave the building first.
Yes.
And go get help.
Yeah, Walter's able to like hop out the window, run. He calls the cops, probably on a payphone because 1980s, obviously payphones just look better on camera, people. And the cops show up, and Donald Pleasance gives the whole speech of like, we did it, we saved it, we saved the world. And Brian has the Carpenter open bittersweet ending where we still see the dream sequence but now Catherine is the dark figure, and he wakes up in like a sweat, and he's like, oh God. And he goes up to the mirror, and he's just about to touch it to see if he can go through.
Well, before that,
she appears.
She appears. She's in the bed, but she's decaying like Kelly was. And it's like, oh God, it's happening again. And then he wakes up, and that's when we get him going to the mirror. And in typical John Carpenter fashion, credits right before you could even, touch the mirror and see, like, is it still happening?
Which I love.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. No, I love that touch where I was like, yeah, leave me in suspense of, oh, shit, just because you stopped it here, doesn't mean it ends here.
You hated the ending of the Thing where it was like, oh, let's
I wanted to know if they were okay.
Yeah, but in this, you're just like, oh, yeah, I want to know. I don't need to know. But in the Thing, you're like, fuck that.
Because I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to be afraid of mirrors.
Jesus.
I don't need to cover every mirror in my house because, like, oh, God. Like
Satan's gonna come.
Is something gonna come through it? Is Nosferatu gonna come through it? And it's not gonna be the Nosferatu that I like. It's gonna be, something worse.
It'll be Kinski's Nosferatu.
Oh God, no.
But it was like, no, not Kinski. No, that would have been okay because this is '87. Could you imagine? John Carpenter was like, I got Klaus Kinski to play Satan. We're not telling you what the movie is. We're just telling him to be himself. God. But yeah, that's Prince of Darkness. More or less, right?
Yeah.
The broad strokes. But yeah, it's a weird movie.
It is.
I
mean, not like super weird. I mean, you're able to follow along and understand what's going on.
Exactly. It's probably a little bit more dense than a horror movie like this would be. It's also a thing where it's relatively shorter than it probably. Okay, that's weird because Carpenter generally makes really tight movies. They're in that 90 to 100 minute realm, and this is 101 minutes. So it's on the longer side of Carpenter's films, but it
moves pretty well.
They all move really well. It's the thing where it's like, man, I wish this had like another 20 minutes just to like breathe a little bit because it's almost too tight.
Even expanding the lore a little bit more.
Yeah.
Kind of like The Fog, where that was kind of one of our gripes, where we wanted a little bit more backstory.
Or just more expansion onto the world. The Fog is a movie that definitely suffered from the tight runtime it had.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, could we explore the town a little bit more? Could we build these characters up a little bit more? Could
The pirates.
the pirates a little bit more? It'd be interesting if it opened with, instead of like the spooky ghost story, if it opened with like a flash, literally us seeing the ship crash into the rocks or
Mhm.
whatever. That'd been a huge budgetary thing, whatever. But with this movie, God, I wish I had another 15 minutes just to breathe with some of the characters
Mhm.
and explore a little bit of like that plot and that lore and that mysticism a little bit more. But as it is, it's still a John Carpenter movie. The
Mhm.
movie looks fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
It leans into the Carpenter style, that big wide frame, the long moving tracking shots,
Mhm.
those really smooth masters. It's a thing where it's like, the movie looks really good. I really like it.
That sunrise that feels like it's the apocalypse.
Yes, which is such a simple effect, but
Mhm.
it's so effective. Yeah, it's solid,
Mhm.
but this is also has a couple of other fun little things about it,
Mhm.
right? Because we talked about The Thing, and this is the second part of Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy.
Yeah.
Right. The third one's going to be In the Mouth of Madness, which we will eventually cover when we get into our 90s Carpenter series. When that is, we do not know, but
Someday.
someday. But the Apocalypse trilogy, we'll talk about all that when we get there, but this is the part 2 of it. The other thing is that this is the last film Carpenter does with Donald Pleasance.
That's right.
Yeah, which is weird because, the films Carpenter does after, I guess, this film, it's like They Live, and then he gets into Memoirs of the Invisible Man and
Mhm.
vampires and so on and so forth. So I guess he wouldn't have a lot left to do in Carpenter's later canon,
Mm-hmm.
but it is weird that this is Pleasance's last film.
Mhm.
Do you want to say anything about Donald Pleasance? Because I don't know the next time we'll be able to talk about him as an actor on the podcast, at least in the Carpenter context.
Yeah, I love Donald Pleasance. Interesting way to end the Carpenter run.
And the relationship.
And the relationship, yeah. It's very interesting. I guess we'll just have to talk about Halloween again.
I wouldn't mind.
Neither would I.
Yeah. But the other thing about the whole Pleasance part of it is he was always a very good actor.
Mhm.
Sorry, not good. A great actor.
Yes.
He brought a lot of gravitas to
Mhm.
these kind of schlocky horror films. And he was the mainstay of the Halloween franchise. I believe this year, 87, or maybe the following year in 88, is when he comes back to the franchise with Halloween 4.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another weird thing, is they tried to get Carpenter to do Halloween 4 for a long, long time. And apparently there's a lot of business reasons why Carpenter didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that he had the option of going back to the Halloween franchise and getting back into like a studio
Mm-hmm.
setting, but he decides to just go independent, do Prince of Darkness, get out of the studio system, because I believe if you listen to the other episodes of this series of all the Carpenter films, Carpenter always wanted to be a studio director, and then when he became a studio director, he realized his sensibilities did not align with the studio system, because
Yeah.
the studio system fucking ruined his life. All the studio movies he made didn't make any money. If he wanted to be creative in them at all, they all lost money. They were all panned. This movie also panned because it's a Carpenter movie released in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of the critics I kind of get, some of them I really don't. But yeah, this one was critically panned, but it made some money. It made $14 million at the
Not
box
bad.
office. Yeah, on a $3 million budget. So good indie hit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did it make that Halloween money?
No, to say my favorite phrase, Halloween's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's hard to top that. Sometimes people are able to do it multiple times, like Spielberg, where he's able to just he's manufacturing. He's got a factory with, lightning in bottles. Dude's got it. But so does John Carpenter. John Carpenter has a lot of films where it's like, yeah, you may not have made the money, but it's like these are movies that are beloved by so many people.
That's the story of Carpenter's 1980s, really, is they were films that came out, panned, people hated them, didn't like them, didn't get them, and then like a decade later, they found their way onto VHS, home video, and became these cult objects. And Prince of Darkness is kind of the last one that hasn't been fully reclaimed. I wonder why Prince of Darkness hasn't been fully reclaimed like all the other ones, like The Thing, like Big Trouble, like The Fog, like the other canon of Carpenter's like works. Now, obviously, the big reason is because The Thing is one of the greatest horror films of all time. Big Trouble in Little China is one of the most entertaining films ever made. Fucking They Live is one of the greatest like anti-capitalist independent films ever made. And Prince of Darkness, I guess, is not in the canon of an undeniable masterpiece, but I wonder why this one still doesn't have as big of a cult following as the rest of the Carpenter canon.
I mean, it just might need some more time.
You think so?
It might need some more time to find, more people. I mean, maybe there is an audience for this and we just, haven't tapped into that yet.
You're probably right. This is also probably the strangest film he ever made.
Probably, but I mean, there's huge followings for possession movies, The Exorcist. I'm trying to think, like, is The Conjuring? Is that part of that, or is that just more?
I mean, if
like a poltergeist realm.
Well, I guess it'd be like in a poltergeist kind of realm. But no, I get what you're saying. I don't even know if it's like that specific genre aspect of it, because it's melding a lot of different horror genre tropes. It's a possession movie, it's kind of a zombie movie, it's kind of a slasher movie. The movie, I think, is really a collection of tropes that Carpenter got really, really good at playing with and manipulating and working with,
and just melded them into one movie.
And that might be why this film didn't get as much love as it did.
There's just so much going on.
There's a lot going on. Now, I will say that I vibe with what's going on, because it's still John Carpenter being like, I'm just gonna play with all the tools in my tool belt and just see what happens.
Yeah,
and it works for me. But I want to know, Prince of Darkness, did it work for you? I think we made it pretty clear it worked for you, but would you recommend? Did you like it?
Yeah.
Is this better than Halloween?
Oh no, God no. Halloween will always be the king. But no, this, I enjoyed it because it scared me. I would have to give it a rewatch to see if I can pick up some things maybe I missed on my first go of this, but I would recommend it.
That's good. I'd recommend it as well. Again, I would recommend kind of anything Carpenter made. There's very few Carpenter films I've ever seen that I would even hazard to say, probably not for everybody. But with that is Prince of Darkness. That is the end of John Carpenter month. It is the last film of the John Carpenter's 1980s run. And the only things we have left to do is his 1990s, which become interesting. But that is not what we'll be doing next week or next month.
Next month, yeah. We're going to be gone for a week, and then we'll be back. Next month, we're going to take, a pretty drastic turn, because it's been horror for a few months consecutively. Hadn't noticed. Been enjoying it too much. But we're going back to one of our not favorite, but enjoyable themes that we like to do. We're doing musical March.
That's right. We are going back to doing some fun, big studio musicals where we get to look at some classic Hollywood musicals, some new Oscar-winning ones, and some that are, I would almost hazard to say, culturally impactful.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I don't think we're doing anything like brand new. Like we're going back, and then we're going like
really back, and then
like really, really back.
Really, really back. But yeah, but we'll be doing Musical March, and I think we're going to start with a movie that I completely forgot. Becky's shaking her head saying, no, save that.
Yeah,
we'll post it later.
We'll post that later because we're still working on the schedule. We'll post that later. We're pretty sure we have everything that we want to do for Musical March. It's hard because there's so many great musicals we've already done, and it's like, can we go back and redo one that we did like maybe last year or the year before? So we will let you know on our Instagram what our upcoming episode is for Musical March.
But if they wanted to listen to those episodes, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube because the Film Club was taken. There you can watch the video versions of this podcast. You can also watch the lovely slideshows I put together when video becomes too complicated. And you can listen to and watch our entire back catalog of over 200 episodes at this point.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to find out what we're doing outside of the podcast or what's coming up next, you can go to our social media at
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post upcoming episodes, guest episodes, adventures we go on, and so much more.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody.